may be in the cosmos in this ever-expanding now moment. I'm Rocken&Larry Locken with Pleiadian Express Productions. And my co-host Carolyn Lanier Roberts. You're listening to the Conscious Conversations with Carolyn and Larry. We also have a Facebook page by the same name. The name of our show today is The Straddling of Two Worlds. What's changed? What's shifted? Of course, we've had the last 6 months. We've had celestial events. We've had collective shifts, a lot of individual shifts going on, a lot of people waking up, interplanetary, outer planetary, all kinds of planetary things going on. So Carolyn Lanier Roberts, all the way in the heart of Texas, San Antonio, Texas. How you doing this morning, sister?
Hey, I'm awesome. I'm doing this picture thing, whatever video thing, and I'm grateful. I'm honored, and we'll just see what comes through and who this serves. And it's a blessing to be here.
Absolutely. We had been talking about, we've just constantly hit with these celestial events and the eclipse and the full moon and moving into the age of Aquarius, right? And of course, it started all the way back with that crazy shift in November, one that I hadn't experienced the likes of since, probably the mid part of 2015. And so it just seems to me what I've noticed in the last 10 days or so, and we were going to cover this last week, but what I've noticed is that people seem more confident about themselves. People are finally seem like they're stepping in their power as far as they're not so willing to let other people manipulate their lives anymore. It just seems like it's given people an upgrade boost, and it's not something that I wouldn't say that it's something like, oh my God, it's a miracle, it's overnight, it's been crazy, but it's noticeable in people. It's noticeable in people, and it seems like people are they're less and less of the buying into a lot of fear, paranoia, lower consciousness kind of information that sometimes can reap across the groups on Facebook and on social media. When you're talking about our light workers, starseed, new age kind of community, it seems like people are more they're looking within themselves more, if that makes sense now, than always searching for somebody else to have the answers. Not that guidance is not important still, but it seems people are becoming more okay with themselves in their skin, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the thing I keep getting was what I'd said earlier before we were live, and I'm getting it really strongly now, is that people are stepping out of their stories. They're allowing patterns. I mean, you could say they're breaking patterns, but actually what I'm hearing is they're allowing patterns to lapse. So they're allowing the gaps between the judgment and the conclusion, the thought and the action. They're pausing. They're allowing the pause is what I'm getting, and that is allowing in, with no pun intended, allowing in the light, allowing in the illumination, the choice to not to change their pattern, to break the pattern. You could say that, but to me that's really harsh. To shift the pattern, to pivot the pattern, without going into the I'm hearing the minutia, the dogma, just pivoting, just 15 degrees in their focus, and just looking at something slightly differently for no reason. They're just kind of allowing it, is what I'm getting. And it's not a massive pivot, but it's a small shift, which is actually profound.
But isn't that kind of the way with them all? I think that also too, you touched on something that keeps something in my mind. I think that also too, I'm seeing people are getting more away from expecting some big event to one time just make everything happen and the sky open and balloons to fall out and everything to be great. People are understanding more and more that this is a process and it is profound. These shifts are all something special. Even if the planet didn't split and we didn't, go out of orbit or whatever, it just seems like they're all profound, and they're starting. Here's what's the deal is too, Carolyn, is they're becoming more and more noticeable when they happen. Like the changes and the alterations that are coming from them, they're starting to become, to me, more noticeable. Not that there always hasn't been something, but you really don't have to get. It seems like you don't really have to guess as much anymore. Yeah, it just seems like it's profound, and you can see it, and you see it in one person, you see it in another, and the resonation between people, the synchronicity, everything is like a puzzle that's starting to come together slowly. I'm not saying it's all of a sudden going to change and even
Yeah.
in our lifetimes completely, but it's starting to, you're starting to feel the power of the collective getting stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I just heard just now, and this is really trite, but this is what I heard. I heard a glitch in the matrix. The the tightness that people had lived in, this
Mhm.
grid grid reality. There's gaps now that are of light that are coming in through that grid, and again, I'm hearing the pause, and the pause sounds very simple, but it's actually quite profound because um, it's a place where different choices can be made all over somebody's life, their reality, what they're thinking, the way they feel about something. I'm even hearing belief systems shifting, which is really beautiful.
Mhm.
Um, and assumptions of things, and when somebody puts down an assumption just for a moment and they allow in another choice, it can have profound ripples in their life, and it's definitely not minor. um to me, I even feel, because is what I'm seeing is some people, they have this happening and they don't consciously realize it. They just have this natural desire to not be automatic about things, to slow down is the bigger thing, and to try something different is what I just heard as well. Um, and all of those are profound because the experience, the reality itself, is, as I understand, is it's created within us and then projected externally, and so that small shift, that small pivot within a person of I'm hearing withholding assumptions, of pausing before the action. These are profound. This is, life changing, frequency shifting. um and imagine every soul on earth making that choice. It's not even that big, bright, brilliant stuff that we'd heard about for years in the spiritual community. These small, tiny little shifts are enough, and they're profound because they begin the movement forward, not backward, despite anything happening externally.
Yeah, really, when you were saying that, I got to thinking too, like, how when we were planning this show, we were talking about, people they're going to be forced to have to do the work, and it's because it's going to be just as hard to avoid doing this work on yourself, right? But it seems to me like with all these planetary events and the celestial events that have been going on, it's almost like we got a freebie in a little way. We got a lot of help by this upgrade is kind of giving it a lot of this to us without us having to go to work for 5 years doing telekinesis every day, right? Like I always say, it really it's helped a lot getting this download and this upgrade. I really feel like that, and I've seen it. I've seen it in other people in the groups and stuff like that. That it's really yeah, it's been really profound, and I don't think yeah, I don't know. It's almost like something did change, and I still can't quite put my finger on the whole thing. I mean, I know why it did and all the particulars about it, but it was really profound, and I think people need to understand that, and that it was and we got hit with them all. I mean, I can't even name all. We had Mercury retrograde. It seemed like a couple times go on. We had going to the age of Aquarius. We had the eclipse. We had the oh God, with
Solar
the full
flares.
moon in Libra. Yeah, solar flare. Oh, solar flares, big time. The Schuman resonance.
Schuman
Mother
Resonance.
Mother Gaia's heart. Kind of beating. Beating a little bit faster. Yeah, it's been a really amazing time to live through. I think there's something to the thought that, and I had 2025 in my mind years ago, and I'm not a big numbers guy. I'm not a big dates guy. I don't get hung up on them because usually when I hear that crap, I think of some religious guy in the 1980s predicting the world's going to end on a certain date. Okay, so I don't get hung up on that. But what I did get to me one time was this was in about 2011, when I was thinking about the 2012 coming up, but then I realized it was a halfway point in a 36-year galactical shift from 94 to 30. but that's what I got. But my guides don't get hung up on dates either, but they kind of hinted and alluded to me to look at the year 2025. And I thought, okay, and for the first time in my life, I'd heard a year that I thought, huh, well, that's okay. Well, I wonder why they want me to keep that in mind. Not that anything's going to really, change heavily, but then again, it is changing, right? So, I
Yep.
mean, there has been something, but I think a lot of people that got the same information, like just this last year, and we're talking about, oh, something's going to happen then. So here's something's going to happen in July. Something's going to happen in January, or something's going to happen in December of 24. I think a lot of people are like portraying it as like, some real big doom and gloom thing's going to happen, but it's not really, I knew that was never going to be the case. It's, more of a, just a heavier shift than we've ever had, right? It's a series of really profound ones to bump us into the age of Aquarius, if you want to, mark it down into Earth terms. Um, that's kind of the way I've seen it. But as we move forward, I think we're bridging the gap too between a lot of the mainstream and what we do. I feel that that's going to be kind of the next move that's going to come up. Is that more people that you never thought would be into this sort of stuff will be. Frequency. Okay, now frequency. I was going to touch on this. I was rambling because I forgot what I was going to say. Now frequencies. I've been talking about frequencies. I had contact with the blue frequencies the other night. I'm going to try to contact every color of the rainbow and get this thing figured out. But frequencies, right? You've been in this a lot longer than I have, and you realize that there's never been a shortage of using the word frequency in our community. Okay, the frequency has been the top word forever, but it seems to me like frequency right now is very important. Your frequency, what you're putting out there, because your thoughts go out to the universe, and what do you want to tune into, and what do you vibe with? What frequency are you at? You are your own radio station.
Yeah, and to me, frequency is defined by or underlined, I'm hearing, by intent.
Yeah, perfect way to put it. I would have took an hour to describe it like that, but yes, it is. It's by your intent, and that puts because that's all it is. It's really not even what you've done or what you do. It really is your intent from your heart, and that is what's controlling your overall frequency. It's not because you had an extra donut at the donut shop, or it's not because I don't know, you told a little white lie or something. It's really what's in your heart. I think where it goes back to we're the hardest judges on ourselves sometimes.
Yes,
You know what I mean? And
for
it
sure.
is true. Yeah, all those old cliches are true. It's just now the consciousness of it is coming to the point where we can really be full of the feeling of those. Loving yourself so you can love others better. Not so you can love
Yeah,
them, but you can love them better. We're all God. We're all one. We all are one. Well, you'll get that. And it's so obvious, right? We come from the same creation. The golden rule. All these things are really having some, you're seeing people start to act like that, but yet there's still that outside world but yet it's in our world where, all the minutiae is going on, all the whatever. And it seems to
yeah.
me like it almost seems like it's coming from another planet, even though we're on the same planet they are.
Yeah, there's such a difference in, well, you could say frequency, you could say vibration, you could
Mhm.
say thoughts, the mental state, the focus, um, the presence, the awareness, any one of those things, um, of the other that you're talking about, and the contrast between the two. And when you talk about frequency and like what's shifted, one of the things that I was going to add, or that there's a lot of things, and we mentioned a lot already. One of the ones that was really big for me is confidence in me, like more than I've ever had, and my soul has a lot of persecution. There have been the issues of self worth, all of these things where we collectively have been held down. And I have always deeply felt that within myself, and even allowing myself to sit here right in front here, and speak my truth through my heart, and offer what I offer as a reawakener of the conversation of the heart, and to just be legitimately, authentically here speaking my truth is profound. And my hope and my intention is that those called to this podcast are also being inspired either by anything we're talking about, by anything happening to them, for them to begin to step forward and speak and walk in their truth. And my feeling is that if I have felt this shift within me of much deeper confidence than I had before, I had it before, but I'd have to like move through, just get my ego out of the way and just do this, you know. Now it's a place of I don't give a fuckness. It's this is me.
Yeah,
Take it or leave
yeah.
it, you know.
Yes, exactly. You stepping into your power like that, right? And it just
Yeah,
it's really profound. You're seeing that, and that's what I'm getting at is the confidence level of, you might be in a position. Say you're in a position where, I don't know, you're in a relationship or something, and you're always concerned about what the other person's doing, and you want to kind of do what's going to make them happy. But I think we're starting to realize we can do what's going to make them happy, but we can also make ourselves happy and do what our mission's called to do. You know what I'm saying? Does that
right.
resonate with you at all? Right. So yeah, exactly. I think that we don't have to. We can all be as one, but we can all be our own powerful self, and we don't. If somebody's gonna, they're either gonna, be with us and vibe with us, or they won't. But
Yep.
yeah, I think that that's a lot of what's going on too, and with the frequency thing too. It's just we're becoming more radioactive in a natural way. We're becoming more in tune with things, and it's picking up on other dimensions, picking up on other beings from other planets, other places. This is a clear, more. It's almost like this, Carolyn. I feel like, okay, I'm trying to tune in a station. I'm trying to tune in a station from Pleiades or Mars or somewhere, and it's been fuzzy all these years, and I'm kind of getting little small transmissions from here and there, but it's getting that picture is starting to get clearer and clearer and clearer and come more into focus.
Crystal clear is what I hear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Crystal clear, and that's kind of what it's leading
Crystal
to. Is
clear.
we're getting an upgrade in our we're going kind of from rabbit ears to basic cable to premium cable to satellite to
Right.
we're becoming more in tune like that. And so you can imagine if that's the case, you can imagine that humans that are on or entities that are on other planets. I hate using that word entities, beings that are on other planets. You can imagine that have been around thousands of years longer, millions of years longer than we have. You can imagine that that's something they're already tuned to. And I used to think that, well, I didn't think I knew it all, but I thought that, okay, I thought that what I didn't know, right, about everything, I thought that what I didn't know when I heard it, though, I'd be like, oh, for sure. I'd be like, oh, yeah, yeah, okay, I kind of thought that. But then lately I've been realizing, too, humbly, that there are a lot of things out there going on that I don't realize. I had a video sent to me earlier today by a girl about it's showing me the moon. And I'll have to show you this when we get off the air, but these beings that were up by the moon and morphed, they were black looking, they were all black, but then they morphed together and became like rainbow colors shooting out of the moon. It was really
Cool.
bizarre. Yeah, it was really crazy. And
Very cool.
yeah, very, very cool. And we just don't, there's a lot of things we still don't understand. We're just scratching the surface when we look at
Yeah.
things that are extraterrestrial. And there's a whole, how can we possibly, it's the humbleness, how can we possibly understand some civilization that may be a million years ahead of us,
How can we understand them? Because we have to understand them from where we are,
Well,
right?
I mean,
I mean,
right, right. Well, yeah, but how could we like? Did we? I think it's overconfident to think we that we already know everything they can do. There's things that they can do that we're not even aware of. Like that we don't
that
even.
would
I've seen things
it
that I
might,
just can't explain. Yeah,
that would be to me. That would be, just to be quite blunt. What I'm getting, that would be the arrogance of the level of consciousness where we've been. That place of assumption, because we as a collective were not connected to our hearts and given the validity of that conversation, and so all kinds of assumptions were made from the place of the mind and all of its machinations, and we weren't in a place where we were authentically considering the possibility, because we were so much more in ego, frankly, is what I'm getting. And the ego was running the show. And now that the ego is being, I'm hearing subdued. I mean, it's still, obviously it still has to exist because we do walk in different bodies and live in different experiences, but it's moving into its divine balance with the sacred heart, the heart speaking forward, and then the ego balancing that in the heart's conversation. Which, so I'm just going to say this because at some point I say this in the broadcast. So, as my mission is a reawakener of the conversation of the heart, that is the conversation between the sacred mind, sacred heart, body, vehicle, voice of the soul. And there are more and more that are in the conversation with the heart. And to move into that conversation requires the shifting from the mind and the box into the full conversation, which for every soul requires you to start seeing your blockages and your barriers and your assumptions and all of that, which requires inner work. Those belief systems and thought patterns and things that have kept you from seeing what's right in front of your face. And I say that because all of us who speak what I'm speaking in any other direction or way that they express it have walked this and can tell you from their own experience that you don't know until you begin to explore instead of assumptions. And so as our topic is what's shifted and what's changed, and what I would offer is that, just like you were saying, Larry, that to me there is a level of awareness that's coming present now, but I still, even that said, what I get is that because some people assume awareness is consciousness, and I feel for some reason within me that there is a difference, that consciousness is like this wide awakeness and awareness is just like this peakedness, where somebody can still be in their pattern, but then something gets their attention. Somebody can still be in their place, their grid, their grid of reality, but then the light comes through and they pause and they think about something else, and to me that's a place of, it's not awakening to me, it's reawakening. And that's a place where awareness is starting to pierce, starting to come in, which happens from the light, coming in, the intelligence, the everything you've talked about, all of those shifts that are happening. Because I feel like, and it was so funny because when you were talking about the Schuman resonance and all this stuff happening, and I saw within me, honestly, the visual I got within me was like a general with all of his like troops and all of his like different strategies to achieve a certain goal. And I felt like the divine was like pulling them all out. Give them this, make the Schuman resonance go to this, and do solar flares this strong for this long, and do this in the external, and do this in the external. And at some point, like, and I've said this to you too, that for me, like the last week and a half, it's been the energies have been so intense sometimes that I feel like I'm being crushed. And I receive within me, it's like, yeah, being crushed like a diamond, being crushed, all of the impurities being crushed, all of the illusion and the bullshit oozing out of you because it wasn't you, it isn't you, and being crushed into this diamond that we are. Because if we're feeling this at this level, then those that are still coming into awareness are feeling this intensity, and they're pointing to these external events. And I'm not saying that those are not valid, but what I'm saying is that the point of like this podcast for me, for instance, is that they realize that those events are affected by these events within all of us, and that they take that energy and that power, and they take it and they put it back where it belongs, where it resides within all of us, within our magnificent hearts. And I'm going to mention, and I shared this with you before, but I'm going to mention this because you and I both are very, power is a really big thing, and it's not the bullshit external world explanation of power, which is this force and this energy that does these things that we have no effect on, whatever that bullshit is. Reality is a force and an energy that comes from within us. And the way I receive power, perception of will as experience received, the way I receive it within myself is at the lower levels where those other external events happen. That's the small will, the ego will of those souls doing that, because those that are watching or witnessing or holding that space, that have no awareness within themselves that they're holding that space, are allowing themselves to be distracted by these small little egos. But in truth, what I receive as real power, true power, divine power, perception of will is experience received. Lower level ego will, higher level divine will, power, will, divine will. Is it you are either compromised? No. Your will, your choice of your negative focuses and the way that you used to see things, you could say is compromised. It's surrendered. You surrender it, you merge it with the divine flow within you, and it becomes this whole force, which is where you and I and others like us that are leading the way, that are doing things like podcasts in this moment where all these crazy things are happening, that are making these choices because this is our divine truth. We are doing this because we are walking and we are living as much as possible in every moment in that higher will of the divine will, which is the power, which for me is the force, the energy behind love, and always has been. And we're here to be representatives and examples of this divine truth, frankly.
Yeah, and I would say, boy, I'm sitting here taking notes on everything you're saying. I'm okay. I'm gonna hit this point, hit that point. Okay, so the word coming to my phrase coming to me is multidimensionalist. Okay, so all these events that are going on at the same time, these distractions, things that are going on, it seems to me like it's helping us to balance it without being, because I've always had a problem with my root chakra going all over the place and not being balanced right. It's certainly helped me to juggle everything and yet be in my present self at the same time. So,
Mm-hmm.
your body is surrounded. But I look at it like this. Okay, you see the stereotypical picture of a chakra system going down the body, and I've always thought that, okay, with your chakras, you also have side chakras that are going out to the side, then out to the side. It encompasses you, and that's your whole multidimensional being, your multidimensional self. You got side chakras going out each chakra, and they're attached to other chakras, and of course we got them above the head. But I'm getting that we're learning how to juggle this and stay in the present now moment. Now, you touched on awareness versus consciousness. I believe they're two separate things too. I would almost though liken it to your awareness is just basically around your consciousness is like an awareness on super 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 steroids. Like your consciousness is just all that
Well,
is,
that works.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, and your awareness is just kind of in your it's like basic cable versus a 1980s satellite dish that got every channel in the world. Okay, it's yeah, sort of, so to speak. So your rabbit ears versus that. They're getting a few networks, but yeah, exactly. And I think that you touched on something too. Oh, I wrote down cliches. So, like I talked earlier about these cliches that have always been used. We are all one. You can't love anybody if you don't love yourself. The golden rule. All that wisdom that we've heard, those phrases, and it
Yeah.
always felt like in yesteryear, even people that were meaning well, they really did, it seemed kind of hollow. Like, okay, that's a great in theory, but how do you? I don't understand that. I think we're starting to
Yeah.
embody those cliches, and we're like getting. It's one thing to not know it, then it's another thing to know it, but then it's a whole nother damn thing to be full of the feeling of it. You know?
Embody it.
Right. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's going on, though, is that people are embodying that now, and they're learning how to they're learning that they
Yeah.
don't have to be scatterbrained completely to handle a bunch of tasks. You have to do what resonates with you, what's going to work for you, and you have to balance all this stuff in the dimension we're living in. Okay, here's another thing that I've been hearing a lot about lately. I've talked to probably 10 people that have mentioned this to me in a kind of their own way. They're kind of, and I've heard some of the channels say it. GFL's talked about it. I've talked about it in some of my channel and some of the people I channel. Now, a lot of us are living part of the time now in higher 40, it seems like.
Yeah.
A lot of people living in higher 40, and
Yeah.
then we kind of fluctuate back down to 3D to deal with some shit, but we're still kind of our heart and our mind is still up in that 4D. But it just feels to me like that's kind of what's going on. And of course, the fourth dimension is still a physical one, but it's more like things are flow a little bit differently. It's more now moment, like you were talking about. It's more now moment living, right? And there's another catchphrase, that now moments. There's only the now moment. I must have said it 50,000 times if I've said it once. But we're
Yep.
starting to really focus on that. And really, when you do what you need to do in the now moment, the future now moments will take care of themselves, because one now
Yep.
moment leads to another and leads to another,
Yep.
and one thing leads to another.
Yep.
Only something wrong. I know I listened too long, but then one thing leads to another. Anyway, yeah, but it just seems like that too, that we're becoming more multidimensional, but comfortable in it. There's been people here for a while that have been comfortable in doing that, but they're few and far between. They're really super ascended souls. But it seems like the collective of star seeds and light workers are starting to move in that direction, to where they're able to handle this, right? And all that stuff that happened, we talked about with the celestials and stuff, it sure as hell helped. And I think every shift does. It's just that now we're starting to understand that it does, instead of like maybe being like, man, that really kicked my ass. Man, this energy's really messed with me. But it's because we're getting used to it, and it's coming as we
Yeah.
need it. It's not, we're not, I haven't seen anybody die from it yet. I've seen some pretty nasty symptoms though back in the day from it. And that was around, 2012, 14 and 15, 13. It was pretty hairy, but I think that, it's just we're kind of getting more into a no time type of feeling almost, even though we still have
Yeah.
all these 3D responsibilities.
Fully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. I mean, it's been amazing, and I think it's important for people that come after us. Every generation, it seems like they come along with more natural awareness, more natural ability, and it's always good to to thank those people that came before us, and to do anything we
Yeah.
possibly can to help these people that come up, that have questions, that wonder why. I mean, I want to see everybody do great and do good, and live to their fullest potential of what they were called on earth to do, and that's their journey to figure that out. Like you've said a million times, you can only do what works for you, right? You can only offer that up, and listen to what they're saying, give maybe some advice on,
You can
you know,
only create for yourself. Yeah.
right, exactly. You can only create for yourself. And as far as helping other people,
Yep.
you can't be condescending, like, well, I would have done this, I should have done this, I wouldn't have done that, I would have. I mean, nobody nevers or would have, or nobody nevers or always is. But a bit more of a listen. And sometimes your vibration, believe it or not, even if you don't know what to tell somebody, sometimes your vibration alone can help them figure this out. It's not
I,
always just words.
I feel like sharing the thing that I've said in the other podcast, what my guides have taught me about that, which has been like, yeah, it's kind of like they wanted to put the nail in the coffin and and to let go and to release any kind of saving or rescuing behavior of any kind, which was where I was in the early 2010s, like 11,
Mm-hmm.
12, all that stuff, and yeah, they put the nail in the coffin. They told me, if you think you know better than somebody else in their own experience, it's not rescuing, it's not saving, it's actually called arrogance, because you don't. And if somebody wants help, they ask for help. If they don't want help, you don't give it. However, depending on your relationship with them, you can gauge whether you can um, whether they are what they're giving off non-verbally in that response, depending on your relationship. And the other thing I'm getting is that energetically, you can also gauge what you can give in that response, even if it's just praying for them, um, with just an open intent for whatever the best is for them, and rather than actually doing for them. And that's a very subjective thing. That's why I'm saying it's a very personal relationship, intimate relationship with a person. But that's something for me that they have hammered into me, because I'm an empath and I'm very sensitive. And even now, I have to check myself sometimes, because it's my nature to feel the energy of another and the emotions, and want to do and want to give and want to help. And I feel it, and I've learned. I check. I check within myself before I step. because for some people they don't want that. They want to be left alone, and if they want your help, they're going to ask for it. And again, it's subjective per the relationship, but it doesn't mean that you can't pray for them, send them compassion, whatever needs to be done energetically. And again, it's very subjective. So yes.
You mean like, say, yeah, you speak energetically. You mean like through your frequency? Yeah, you're sending them positive thoughts, positive love, focusing your attention on it. But yet, you're right. If it's somebody that you're close and personal with, right, you can kind of gauge that. And again, what I'm getting is calculated, right? You can be calculated
Yeah.
about helping them, right? You can kind of say something here or there. It could, because you know them on a personal level. You have a good idea of what you can get away with without really messing with
Yeah.
their growth path any, right? You know what
Yeah.
you can get away with. And even I think sometimes even like people like us, we when we're trying to help people like that, or we in the past when we were empaths and we want to help them, and sometimes we even overthink it, like, gosh, what can I do to help? How can I, well, I'll try anything, do anything. But sometimes it's just simple things like just listening to them out. And
Yeah.
sometimes you're right, and sometimes it's even you mentioned people that don't ask for help and they're not looking for it, but sometimes even like people that are, you probably pick up on this in a sentence where they just want you to, oh, I don't know, tell them, not tell yeah, tell them kind of what they want to hear. They want to be reassured about something, and if you don't agree with it, they just don't want to hear you anymore out. They not may not be like rude about it, but they've lost the plot, you've lost the conversation once
I
you
mean,
say they don't want to hear it. But I'm not trying to bag on anybody, but they already know, they got it in their mind. They want to have somebody confirm what they're thinking, and they don't want to hear an alternative that it could be, or that it worked differently for you.
the thing I'm hearing in my head, and this is when I need to remember myself, is that you're not here for their approval, right? Your existence does not depend on their approval or not. Um, your authenticity is what benefits far more than anything, and I'm getting very clearly to make that very, very clear to anybody listening. The action of helping another, of aiding another, is helpful and profound and everything, but your actions, your intent behind it is equally so. That it's done out of a place of authentic giving, authentic compassion, not from obligation, not because you have to, not because somebody told you to do it, not because you um there's a balance I'm hearing within me, not because if you don't do it you're going to feel like a piece of shit. However, the other thing I'm getting is that if you do it, because you will hate yourself if you don't do it, you it might be a good experience for you to help this person if they want it and you don't want to do it, but you still make yourself do it because it might be a learning experience. It will be a learning experience for you, if you allow yourself a break while you're doing it and just feel concern for the other, is
Yeah,
what I'm getting.
right, Carolyn. Like, cut the obligation part out as far as feeling like, okay, I've got to set aside this certain amount of time for them. I've got to do this for them. I've got
Yeah.
to. Yeah, the intention, and that's more of a human race that's going off of
Yeah.
vibration and feeling, more so than just just kind of a 3D thought of, man, I got to help this person. And like you said, it may be a situation where you're being called to do this because it's going to teach you and help you something. And the thing is, I
Yeah.
would tell people is to not to get them fearful of that, is to say, okay, so you go ahead and go that route with somebody. You're gonna know pretty damn quick at this day and age whether you made the right decision or not. You know what I mean? It's not gonna be like, okay, you're gonna keep second guessing and keep wondering, keep wondering. I really feel like you'll know in your heart
Very
fairly
much.
quickly. Yeah, don't you think so? Kind of.
Yeah. You will know immediately, and then you can make it's part of being human, right? You make a decision within yourself. Okay, this person really needs help. I really didn't want to do this, but I feel like it really will help them. And this is that place where, what is that conversation you have with it in yourself? What is the, okay, all right, there's a part of me that doesn't want to do this. Why do I not want to do it? Do I not trust this person? Do I just not like this particular task that they need me to do, but it really would help them? And then the next conversation with yourself could be, you know what? I need to get over myself. They could use the help. And this is really not going to hurt me. Or it could be a place where it's like, the person might still be, I'm hearing, in a battle with their ego. And they might be like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to.
Yeah.
And there's no judgment on that either, because everyone, anytime we experience, we learn one way or the other. We learn, and you'll get there one way or the other. And you never know. Maybe it was something you're going to learn through, and whatever that lesson you're meant to learn. If you didn't get that experience, well, it'll be presented in another way until you get it. And ultimately, it's about, I'm hearing, walking in your authenticity. The experience presents, you really don't want to do it. And maybe it's something really minor and and I'm feeling within me, like, you're pissed. You really don't want to do it, but it would really help that person. And it really isn't that a big compromise. You just personally don't want to do it. Well, that's where you, I'm hearing, put your big girl panties on. You just get over yourself, go do it, because ultimately it will benefit you, because it's like, okay, yes, I did that. I could do that. I can help somebody. I didn't want to do it, but I allowed my ego to be put aside, and I could help this person. And ultimately it will benefit. And in truth, that you can say that for any one of us, that we have things happening in our experience, and they've always happened. And in the past, maybe the ego, I don't want to say one, I'm hearing one, I don't like that word. Maybe the ego ruled more, and it was like, you know what, or there was the the bull, and this is my opinion, the bullshit emotions of guilt and shame. And oh, I'm not supposed to do this because of this. Oh, I'm a piece of shit because I didn't do this. And none of those are really supportive emotions. They're all ways of boxing in the inner child within us. And that there has to be this balance, right, where you're like, okay, is my life really that much compressed, because my helping this person, I'm not able to do this thing? Is this thing that important? And it's a place where, when we talk about, like, this podcast, what's shifted. So at this place right now, for those of us that have moved more deeply into what we are authentically, then that means that conversation within you for this kind of situation would be like, all right, I don't really want to do this. It's not my thing, and it's something, maybe you weigh it. Okay, there isn't that much compromised for me, and this person or this thing would benefit significantly for me to do this. And then at this point, you would feel something, your heart would feel a certain way, you would feel this clarity. And when we talk about crystal clear, you would feel this, you might even get like a jolt of energy moving through you briefly as a confirmation. You might get goosebumps in that conversation with yourself, some kind of confirmation from your body, would be a yes, and if it's a major no, well, then that would be a given, because from the get-go you would feel like, I don't know what it is about this. I know they need help, but there's something about it, and the feeling won't let go. It's like this energy that won't let go. It drags you down, is what I'm hearing within me. And that's that place where, and then this is that hard balance, but that's place to me where it's not ego. That's not ego. That's your intuition, and it's telling you something. And so to me, when we talk about what's shifted, it's a clearer conversation that I receive, that we're having within ourselves. And when you talk about the multidimensionality, that's because we are shifting in these dimensions more rapidly, which is very disorienting. And it requires us to make decisions quickly. So that means that the conversation within us and the conversation to do something like this would be like really quick. Okay, yes. Nope, we're good. We're good, ego. We're good. We're good. This is something we can do. I will benefit this. I can feel it within me strongly. I'm just going to go do this. Or it could be like, you know what? They need help. I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not comfortable with this. I wonder if there's another way I could do this. I wonder if there's something else. Maybe I could refer them to somebody. Maybe there's another friend that can help them, right? And it's like there's always choice. Always choice. And that anything that we're presented with, it's not random, and that's something that I tell you all the time, but I hear it within me all the time. There is nothing happening to us now that's random. And what my guides are calling where we are right now is they're calling this the moment between the moment. That's what they're calling the time we're
Yeah,
in. Like
that was
literally
brilliant. You said that. Yeah,
in the
yeah,
last
exactly.
in the last what 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's like every single choice we make that moves us, I'm hearing closer to our goal. That sounds really stupid. No offense, guys. That moves us closer to alignment. That moves us closer to me, the ultimate focus would be, our authenticity, walking in our truth, which is also walking in our joy, walking in our, what lights us up, what we're passionate about, what matters to us. And it's like the more that we make choices that move us closer into those spaces, the more that we one receive a lot of energy from those choices because they so support our focus, right? Our intent. The other one is that we get better and better at these pivots, these quick pivots of these choices that come, and they, for me in these last couple days, I've been emotionally volatile off and on. I mean, I'm like real chill, real zen, and then something happens, and I'm like, I'm not like losing it, but I'm like, I can feel this volatility within me. And I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? I swear it wasn't there a minute ago. And it's to me, this is that place where, if you've done your inner work, then you're still, you're still having to hold like a tight rein on some things because you can feel this eruption, this volcano that wants to explode. And you just got to be like, we're all good. We don't need to be exploding. Or maybe we need to explode in the proper spaces. And to me, it's ultimately about, I'm hearing within me the ability to pivot and to make those decisions quickly, which is about when we talked about the awareness and then we talked about consciousness, and in the place of awareness where you're still entering into this new way of seeing things, just like somebody who is just coming into that is watching, listening to this podcast, and they're understanding some things we're saying and some things they're like, no, or they're full of it or whatever, but yeah, they're listening. So to me, the place of awareness would be the fact that, well, they say that, but yet they're listening. That means that a part of their being is present right here, right now, giving or offering validity to what's being said. No matter if they take it in whole or they take in parts, doesn't matter. They're still allowing, I'm hearing allowing the integration within me very clearly. And it's coming. It's coming for all, because this this shift is not even, we're not even beginning it. To me, we're in it. And when you talked about 2025, that number, I still, like I've told you before, I still have to pinch myself that we're in 2025, because it's unbelievable within me sometimes, honestly, this year. I that's all I can say, because I know that 2030, and I get those numbers in me, and I'm just like, it's the reason to me that we're sitting here in this podcast, and there's others that are doing podcasts that are similar, because we feel the bell. I'm hearing, we hear the bell, we feel the pull, now. And so the point of this, what's shifted, what's changed, is that it's like that again, that analogy I gave you a minute ago about the general, and he's putting out all the troops are going out, and all the options, and to me that's what the divine is doing. Everything that can be done to I'm hearing dislodge the soul on their focus in the grid, and any one of that is being done. And then I'm hearing light choices and dark choices within myself. And we are doing our best to motivate souls and to inspire souls into light choices, and to be that example for those that are um, ready to hear, ready to step out, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned earlier that yeah, you mentioned oh god, I lost my train of thought here. Oh, hey, there I am. Yay, I look real good this morning. Hey everybody, yay, 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 yay. Let's put Yvonne Ganez back up there. Yeah, anyway, yeah, so hey, 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 yeah, hey, brown sugar, how you doing? Yeah, yeah. What the that's so weird that it won't give me a okay, now let's see if we try this one here.
You get a
Okay, there
green
we go.
screen. That would work with the whole
Yeah, here's
alien.
my hair, my hair. You know, though, seriously though, I feel that too. I feel like it's a calculated vibration. It's still in helping somebody out. But what I was going to mention when you were done there, and you hit on it, it was referring people to somebody else. Like if you're just not feeling their energy, or if you don't have time. Of course, it's several factors that come into it. It's the vibration you feel from 'em, it's what you've got going on. It's what you've got planned. And so, but I felt that too, that there's other people. I've even looked at other people on the pages and stuff like that. Like, okay, hey, so and so needs some help. Do you guys think you could give some answers? One girl messaged in with she was getting all these pictures of these light codes that she was taking, and I was explaining to her what they were, and what star system they were from, and through the course of the conversation, I ascertained that she had never heard of any of this stuff, right? She'd never heard of any of these terms: Lightworker, Starseed, Arcturian, Pleiadian, Sirian, Lyran, Vegan, and on and on and on, and don't stop till the break of dawn. But and she had never. I said, "Wow!" I said, "That's you're getting some pretty amazing um, guides around you and spirit around you, and you're having access to all these really great pictures, and you really don't." I said, "What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the question out there to the page," and a lot of people stepped up and helped her and said, "Hey, I'm still learning too," and then people that have been around it for a long time were like, quick with answers to help her out. That's what it does. We feed off of each other. Like
Yeah,
you may have a thought all the way almost put together, but you can't quite get it. And then somebody says one thing and it'll tie the knot for you, or you may say one thing and you'll tie it together for somebody else, right?
right.
Um, Another thing I want to touch on too is like standing in your own power about how you were talking about you every time you talk to your guides, I love it because you'll tell them if they're not okay, guys, I don't like that word, right? You're not what I tell people all the time is these people are they're most of them are humans like you that they're ascended, but they're souls too. They're not they don't have all the answers either, and you should never give your power over to them. They can give you advice, give you suggestions, but don't don't sit there and say, "Well, my guide said this. I should do this." They don't know, and only you know for you what you should do. Don't give your power over. And if you need to tell them, I tell mine to fuck off sometimes when I'm in a bad mood. I mean,
I
seriously, I
have
do
to.
care. Yeah, I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, don't act like they're anybody. A big. I mean, so what? I mean, look, I've got 30 collectives, a Pleiadian, a couple
I've said
series,
it.
but
I've said it
yeah,
before
they
because
don't.
I'll be like, I'm grateful for what you're
Yeah,
saying, but you're not in this physical body. You're not feeling what I'm
no.
feeling, and yeah, we're good.
I know, and then you get into that mode where they think, well, you think, well, they've been there before, and they're learning. I don't give a fuck if they spent a million years there; they're not there now. Okay,
Yeah,
that's the thing is they're not
right.
there now, and so it's easy once you're out of that terrible scenario, and you're feeling really great. You forget about those bad times. The only time you remember that kind of shit is if you're in a kind of another situation that's half-ass. If you're happy and in a good situation, like they
Yeah.
obviously would be in a light body
If
and
you're happy,
ascended,
here I just
yeah,
hurt my head. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
clap your hands. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Go
Here,
on.
yeah, yeah, your face. Yeah, my face will surely show it after a while. But yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, you don't need to get into hysterics to talk to them. And oh my god, my guides. Or, oh my god, my guides. Oh my god, they told me I could go to the bathroom now. I mean, you don't need to get into that mode with them. And it's like I tell people, I mean, I didn't ask for these motherfuckers to come into my life. I put it that way. I mean, they did, and I'm sure I signed. I have to preface this because you'll get somebody say, "Oh, you signed up for it for you came here." Well, I get it. I know that, but I mean, that's not no big fucking revelation. But what I'm saying is, in this present life, and I've said it on every podcast probably now, I didn't ask for them to come into my life. They did, and so they're there, and they're not there to if they're of pure intent, they're just there to be there for you. They love you too, and they're not there to, and they're not going to get hurt if you tell them, you're not feeling it right now, or you
No.
disagree with
Right.
them. I mean, I've never had really arguments with them, but I've had a couple disagreements, and we come to an understanding about it. It's not even coming to an understanding; it's just really a matter of semantics with them. And
Yeah.
sometimes because they're on another dimension, the communication is a little bit you might get a couple words here and there flawed. That's why a lot of people that get the same downloads, especially Pleiadian channelers, you get the same pretty much consistently information that each other's getting, but you may be put in a different way because you heard it a different way because of your well, I don't want to say the word programming, but because of how you're programmed, or maybe your language, or so you have it a little better. But in essence, the message is still the same, right? And
Uh-huh.
especially really strong with Pleiadian channels. I know, it's just we get the same information like around the same time, and it's almost like clockwork, and it's interesting. But some people will talk about their guides like they're the end all be all. You know what I mean? Mine are cool. I love them all, but I mean they're not. I mean, I don't really, I really don't give a shit really anything about any of their personal lives or anything. You know what I mean? That they have, and they do have them where they're from. Um, but that's not. It's about sharing a message with each other and what's right and listening to each other. I don't get hung up on who they are per se, but maybe their words of wisdom sometimes, like they've taught me a lot about galactical history. They don't get into future predictions, so it's straddling that too. And I think sometimes I almost feel like when I see people that have had contact or have guides that hadn't had them before, well, they've always had them, but that they're in touch with them now. I almost feel like it's like, oh my God, they feel like they just won the lottery, or they feel like they've met the end all be all. But I mean, they have guides too. Your guides have guides, and your guides to people. And if you can help somebody, you'll do. Of course, you're going to do it, make every effort to. But it's like being aware of it, but don't give up your energy completely to it. But yeah, that's just how I feel. Like I put down while you were talking, I put down put guides in check. But yeah, I like how you have a really snappy conversation with them real quick. It's like you got such a pure, clear channel, Carolyn, that you can just talk to them like that. And okay, guys, I need another word. Yeah, I don't like that word. And they don't. They're learning too. They're learning from us. They're not sure
Yeah.
how it works down here. You know what I mean? I mean, just because
Right.
your consciousness knows all, there are certain, but there's always little details, right? There's little details they're not sure of, certain slang we use.
Mhm.
They're not going to know that. How in the hell would they know that? Just, the consciousness doesn't quite work that way. Oh, I just knew that that
They
was going to be slang
or
you
they
used.
or they pick certain words and you're just like, that's not in my lexicon, but maybe it will express what I needed to express. Maybe
Hmm.
it won't, you know? Yeah. No, I hear you. Um, oh, yeah, that's a neat one. I saw that
Yeah,
one.
there's Menonkan over there. Yeah, that's another subject star system I haven't covered yet. I've been meaning to do that for the Menonkan. They're an interesting story.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. I know. We'll make you cover it. You're going to start learning about Mentonkan the mints. Yeah, no,
The
we won't go into
Menonkan, that's
Mintonk.
the water, right?
Is that what okay, maybe that ties something together because I was thinking about the aqua water goddess last night. I was
I
thinking about
think
the
that's the
aqua
one.
goddess.
That's actually one that's popped up in my thoughts before. That's I'm connected to that. But I
Mhm.
had forgotten the name, and then it popped in my head, and I looked it up, and it's I think that's the water world, Palladian water world or something. Um,
Maybe they come. I think that they're really close to the Pleiadians. They're one of the only human races in Orion, but they're really on the outskirts of Orion. And in a past life kind of regression I did on myself, I remembered I was with the Lyrans and we were having that war with Orion, and I got shot down somewhere, and I was in this planet, and I was scared, really nervous and scared. And I ran instead of lizards, I ran into them, and I was shocked, and they were wearing green, and they were described. And later on, I didn't know who they were. This was years ago. And then just in this last year, I heard about the Mintonka. And for some reason, they weren't in my consciousness. And I heard about them. Like, I wonder if that's who helped me out when I had that happen, because I remember the interaction with the guy. I'm like, where in the hell am I? I'm like, I was real nervous, and he's like, "Well, what do you think? We all look like lizards in this galaxy here, or in this star system?" And I'm like, "Well, I thought so, man. Yeah." And so the Mintonkan, yeah, they're related to the Pleiadians. I know there's a Pleiadian race because the Pleiadians have several different colored races of the rainbow of humans, and I ran into a green one there, and they wore the same kind of stuff as the Mintonkan do that I seen in that regression I had on myself. So of course they're related to them, and yeah, so they have cousins definitely in the Pleiades that are their same lineage, kind of like Andromeda and Arcturus. Or
Yeah.
I keep trying to tell people they're the same thing.
So I'm being guided within my to bring this back into, like, I'm sitting here and being given what I mean, what can we do to serve anybody right now who's going through this stuff, and the main thing I can tell them is like what you were talking about too, but more detail is what I'm getting when you were talking about this year. um like, my guides have been pointing me towards May for a lot of stuff. They were pointing me towards March for the longest time, and then we had April, and now they're pointing me. They've been like May, May, May. And I know there's a lot of stuff that happens this year, and my thoughts are just like you were saying, that more and more are of those in the, what do you call it, 3D, whatever you want to call it, are becoming aware. They're becoming aware, and to me, some of them are becoming aware because they are I don't like saying it this way I'm getting, and I do resonate with it. They've moved into this doom and gloom place, and some of them are like, it's the, they're into the world, or this is the worst thing that can happen, or oh my god, this can't happen. And from that place is the place where, to me, their soul is taking them, because it's like, well, if you're put into that corner and that's the only way you're seeing, then maybe you need to turn around and look for other exits, other things, other routes. And it's like those that have been in that place, yeah, they're being forced to see, they're being forced to look, they're being forced to decide. And I don't like what I'm getting on that decision right now. Don't like that, guys. But it's like, yeah, but it is the truth. They're being forced to decide, do they want to continue in that focus of the doom and the gloom and everything, and what kind of life is that, and is that the world that they personally want to live in, or do they want something better? And so when we go back to the topic of what's shifted and what's changed, you know there will be some groups, my feeling is that they are more deliberate about their focus and their intent, um, of how they feel that they need to, I'm hearing, apply their light in this moment. um, like, you and I here, we're doing this podcast. When we're here, we're talking about authenticity and empowerment, and there are others that are feeling they have to make more grounded shifts, and I honor that, because there is shifting happening in the physical. um, and what you and I and others like us would be, I see that, would be clarifying, is to remember that, that the external is a reflection of the internal, and that is what brings awareness, is when you start to really connect with that direct flow, um, more and more, to make those choices within yourself, to shift things deliberately, to see things deliberately within yourself. Yeah.
Well, do you think too that, like you mentioned, certain groups taking that on? Do you
Yeah.
think that this is kind of at every level where you think that you may be at your ascension level or wherever you're at? It seems like we're all getting new things to learn, like to look at ways to to help people out,
Right.
to best how our services can be best utilized. Right? I think I've got a craving. Like for me, I've got a craving right now figure out how I can best be utilized, right? I'm like all in for the collective is the way I'm feeling. And it's like,
Right.
okay, I've always tried to portray that, but I feel like, okay, where am I needed? What am I needed to do? What is it? I'm willing to listen. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but if it's something that resonates with me,
Like, where could
I'll
I
do
serve
it.
the highest?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
How can I affect the most people that need it,
Yes.
that need it? It's not necessarily about the quantity. It's about where can I do the best? How, and it may be that I make more of an impact by helping one or two people so they can see their own light and figure it out, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it seems like everything comes in steps. Now, you had mentioned that people, well, you didn't put it this way, but kind of in the mainstream are starting to feel this too a little bit, and then I guess it goes in phases. I guess maybe the next phase would be to be aware of it, that they're they feel it, but then I guess their next part of their journey is to know, maybe kind of get an idea as to why. Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure out why. Okay, I get that, but they're they're trying to they're going through these phases of it, right? And I guess that's just the growth evolution of humanity, and it goes in different steps. So we're all together as a collective, but we're all our own. I don't like using the word matrix, but we all have our own matrix that we're in. That guy you wave to down the street every day, or whatever you may see, that's
Right.
all he is. That's all he is in your matrix. I've said that a million times. But then he's got his own. We've got our own, and yet they're all blended together. I mean, we've got, and without even going into the parallel reality theory, which does exist, we've already got them here with people's different lives. Yet we all come from the same creation. So I wanted to touch on something that did shift for me. So we talked about, like, when you and I were first preparing to do this talk, it was supposed to be last week, but it didn't happen. So, but something that's happened for me is I was more in a condescending nature when we were coming up with the description for this,
Yeah.
about what people are going to need to either start doing. They're not going to have a choice whether to do the work or not, and I still think that's definitely the case. But they're going to have to. It's going to be harder for them, right? We talked about how it'd be harder for them to. It just is hard almost for them to not do it, for them to just, there's no sitting on the fence. I think
Yeah.
that's still all true, but my attitude about it has gotten better, as far as more of a, yeah, well, they need to do this. And, if we're going to ascend,
Choice.
God, they need to,
I'm hearing
yeah, it's
I'm
just
hearing
like,
choice, but they realize there's more choice.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's helped a lot with the vibration, them knowing that, right. On a little bit of a mass level, them knowing that, though, has helped my psyche a lot, because they are aware that they have that choice, right? They're aware of that, and there's always steps to this, right? The first, you wonder, what the hell, what choices do I have? What could I possibly do? Do I have one? They realize there's one, and maybe they realize some options that they have,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then, yeah, right. So it's like I feel this shift that I don't feel as you know I feel different than when we were putting this together, but I still agree with everything we came up with, but I feel
We
different, like the a different emotion behind it.
yeah, I mean, I was feeling it because when we were talking about, are we going to do the same topic we talked about last week, or are we going to do a new one? And I felt really strongly, I'm like, no, we're going to talk about the same topic. But like when I asked myself, and I checked within myself on the energy, I'm like, what has shifted? I'm like, like, wow, like last week, I would have still shared my heart and been authentic because that's just me. But I, I'm feeling I may not be as deeply connected as I am now with what I feel compelled to share, to offer, for this subject, for souls that are resonating with this. And like, you know last week that I am this week. This week, it's like I'm at another level of me, and a higher level of awareness. And awareness is the right word. Consciousness is already there, but awareness is what I'm getting of, because it's like every level you move up of you see your world slightly differently, your reality and what you're creating and what you're, all of that. And I'm also hearing perpetuating. And I feel so much more connected to why I'm here, and what I'm here to bring, and what I'm here to offer. And just like you were talking about, what is my highest service? And I I'm checking within myself so much more now on my actions and my intentions. You know, is this the highest service? And when I say that, I'm getting in it. Yes. Um, I do a lot of art. I doodle, and some people would be like, "Well, how is that going to serve?" And what I would offer is that anything you're doing that is authentic for you, that is through your heart, and is what's calling you in that moment, is an energy that supports. Actually, I'm hearing supports love. It's a higher flow. It's not feeding illusion, because it's feeding truth, and authenticity is an element of truth, and it's feeding the higher flow, the higher vision, um, in any one of those, because joy. There was an article I wrote years ago about why are we here, and the flow that came through me then, which is like my highest intent, believe it or not, because I get so damn serious, is why are we here? And to me, we're here for the service of joy, because every moment's a blessing. This podcast is a blessing. You know, talking to you, Larry, is a blessing. For anybody that this serves, that is beyond beautiful and a blessing. And it's very profound to allow in um, the authenticity, which is shifted to joy as you move to be able to do what you authentically want to do, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, that just poured through me, the joy thing. I'm like, yeah, that's right. We're here for the service of joy, and to me, there,
I've always, it's funny. And I think we both, we both always we've always kind of knew that, but it's again getting into that feeling mode of it,
you're like
right? You're,
flashing. I'm here.
oh yeah, we're starting to really feel that. Okay, it is truly about the gratitude. So basically, it ties into what all this stuff is really within you. There is not. We're always people are looking at this outer extended world all the time. And I think we have a habit down here as humans of doing that on Earth. And it really is the within. Another cliche again, right? That's so dead on. Your everything, all your answers are from within. They're within, young
Mm-hmm.
man. Yeah, go within.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but go within. And I think that yeah, I'm just grateful for you too. I know I'm certainly grateful for you. And I know I'm grateful for you saying that you're grateful for me. And yeah, and you telling everybody just how wonderful I am, and I don't ever write run-on sentence. I don't ever write a run-on sentence or take a book to explain my theory. Yeah, but I mean, we're really starting to the gratitude of it. It just seems like it's more now moment living, and I really like that upper four-dimensional vibe feel of shit gets taken care of, but there's really only the second you're living, and that doesn't mean I've always had to preface it by I felt like obligated to say that doesn't mean you okay, pardon my language, you fuck off all your responsibilities. It means well, it means just that you're in that moment of but then there's stresses that go on. I understand that too, but we're starting to live that more without it's becoming a little bit effortlessly, maybe because some of the work of the collective, a lot of people in the collective have done over the years. And it's a combination of that and getting an upgrade vibrational from the galactics and our spirit guides and things like that. See, they help us when we help ourselves.
Yes.
Like, yeah, they're not going to come
Totally.
and save anything for them. The way I always understood it was, yeah, well, you get about 90% of it done. We'll do 5%. We'll do 5 to 10% of the work for you. You know what I mean? They're willing to
Yeah.
help out a little bit. Give us that last piece to the 10-piece puzzle, right? When
Yeah.
we're ready for it. But it's amazing. It's like creation and evolution. They go hand in hand. I mean, evolution is the king, but creation every so often we get a little bump. And more so now than ever, we're getting a lot of them, right? And you're right, the shift, we're in the middle of that transitional shift, and it's going to
Right.
be. I'm kind of for the first time though. I'm really excited. I've always talked to the game about it, but I'm really excited about what energy, even if they're crazy, right? What energies lay ahead for us, right? As we move and
Right.
look, as we look forward to what's coming up next, energetically wise. I am kind of that's not something I need to do a better job of keeping up on what a lot of the experts in our line of work are saying about what the next shift has to offer. And I'm glad for you because you recommended a few good ones to me. people to check out, that are, pretty solid and seem pretty
It's
solid and
beautiful
grounded.
energy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
their energy. That's all it is, right? It's their energy. And
Yep.
it's just like with that group I have, the Pleiadian Rainbow, Orbs group and Angels group. It's the energy of the pictures. It isn't even so much anymore, right? Like the look at them, because the phones are so good now, and those energies are hitting the earth so hard that people can just pick these up and take pictures of them now. Whereas before, you
Right.
really had to be in tune with spirit and be meant to be. But it's still yet at the same time, it's the energy behind them. You know what I mean? It's the energy, not the visual. We're moving. Things are getting more and more visual, but it's funny because on one hand, look, on one hand, colors in our society, they're getting more and more vibrant, and more as we ascend more and more, they will. But on the other hand, we're starting to think them more as a frequency. These colors are a frequency, right? And eventually, we'll hear that frequency of these colors. So there's all kinds of exciting things that are happening to humanity right now, right? And just to be able to get it, to me, it's like feels like a reward just getting to enjoy even a little bit of peaceful bliss um, from one of these culminating shifts that we had, which was the whole bunch of shit in 6 months, right? And we went down
I,
the ladder with that.
yeah, I was reminded of something within me just now. When you talk about people taking those awesome photos with the phones and blah 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 blah, and I was reminded of something that my guides taught me years ago, which really resonates with me, and I've told you this already. Um, this is just what I've always received is those awesome, beautiful photos. They are awesome and beautiful, and they touch you, they affect you because that is a flow from the heart of the person receiving it. That is you're in their energetic bubble is what I'm getting, and it's the flow from their magnificent heart. And I'm getting the argument within me. Well, what about photographers? The blah 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 blah. Yes, there is truth to that. However, you can feel the more that you are connected is what I'm getting. The more that you are connected, the more that you can feel that those beautiful photography photos, and you can feel the energetic shift in those photos compared to like the I see Larry compared to like the orb ones, or even the nature ones somebody takes with their phone, but they're just feeling this. Um, they're just taking this out of this love for this image, not saying that the photographers don't take it out of the love for the image they're taking. It's just a different shift in energy depending on each each beholder is what I'm hearing in my head,
Hmm.
you know? Um
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, right, and it's when you're on a certain frequency level, right, you have a certain passion, and it seems to match what you get on photo. The energy from it seems to match your energy vibration at the time who you are. I've really noticed that, right? And what I've
Right.
noticed too is this is kind of weird. What I've noticed about that, you mentioned you had to bring up orbs. I'm seeing, instead of like just regular, straight up plain orbs being photoed anymore, it's well, they're there, but they're even more translucent and colorful, and it seems like it's just rays that are hitting the earth. And I had a channeling years ago that predicted this time where there'd be more rays. I put it to the past because I figured, fuck, it would have happened already. I thought it was, back then I thought shit was going to happen within a year, back in the mid and early part of last decade, right?
Yeah,
I did
I
channeling like
remember.
you. Like, yeah, I'm telling you a little bit, like you told me when you were first listening to some of these channelings, like I was, man, you'd think it
Oh
was the
God.
gospel, right? I know, the
Yeah,
old school ones. Me too, though. Me too. I think these were, who in the hell are these people? They're not me. And then I
yeah,
started, then I'm in that realm, and you too. And it's like you heard them at first, and I really thought it was something. Man, who are these people? Am I tuning into another planet?
yeah.
I mean, I realized they were getting a download. That I realized
They
they
must
must
be
be. I
walking
thought they
on
must be.
water because they're channeling
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. Yeah.
Remember, I felt the same damn way for a while. Everything I'd hear even ones that I didn't quite resonate with. I'd be like, "Oh, well, am I wrong about this? I wonder if I'm wrong. Maybe I better reevaluate how I, excuse me, how I feel." Right, but you learn discernment as time goes on. You learn how to discern, and I think that discernment is just healthy. I think we're moving to a point now where, like, we don't have to keep thinking about, okay, I need discernment. I got to discern. I got to discern. I got to discern.
Yeah.
We just consciously are able to use discernment in every now moment there.
Automatically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
use your discernment. It's more, instead of a warning now, you better use your discernment. it's just a vibrational thing. It's tying into the fact that everything's just energy and a vibration. If you take away the good, the bad, and it's an energy. It's where you want to focus your intention. What do you want back? What do you want back? What do you, and going within, what do you want? What do you want out of this? What do you want for your future now moments? What kind of energy you want to get? What kind of, and so, this is what you put out there to attract it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's straddling, we're not just straddling two worlds, we're straddling a lot of different worlds. We're straddling our own multidimensionalists, we're straddling people around us, people that we may help. But we're getting better at it. And it's really helping us to become more of a complete soul, a complete being, a complete new kind of race of humans almost.
Right.
And we've been pushed into this for I'm saying a half century, three-quarters of a century now. We've been almost pushed to start doing this DNA upgrade, right? And you can tell it in the way people look. I know, it has nothing to do with the styles. I want people to understand what I'm saying. It has zero to do with how somebody put their hair up in 1965 versus how they're doing it in 2025. It has absolutely nothing to do with it, what I'm observing. Nothing to do with
No,
DNA upgrade.
about
Yeah.
distraction. So yeah, go on.
No, what I was saying is, yeah, so that's kind of it. We're being upgraded for this new world, but it affects other things too, like the looks of people, especially like I've said 100 times, especially women. Their features and their cheekbones, everything's more accentuated on them. And, really starting in the late 50s with them being born, and then a couple more upgrades through the decades after that. 60s, 70s, and the 80s, and in the 90s, a big one that happened to both boys and girls. A DNA upgrade in their not only in their consciousness, right, in the way they perceive things, but in their shape of their eyes, their cheekbones, things that right. Everything's more accentuated. But then the planet's going.
Interesting. Okay. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh. You there? You froze for a second. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
say, you're seeing that all that stuff happen to Mother Gaia too.
Interesting. There's probably a parallel. Yeah. I haven't thought about that before, honestly. Which is cool. Huh.
I thought
Yeah.
I'd throw you for a loop. I thought I'd throw Carolyn
I
for a
like
loop. No,
that.
I really did.
Hey,
It just took me there.
I love being thrown for a loop. What a blessing. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, what I receive, me about the mother is she's ascended. She's not ascending, she's ascended waiting on us, honestly. Um, you know, waiting on our
Yeah,
consciousness, waiting on us to and then yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
you got to be.
Waiting on us.
You got to be right about that, because think about this: if she wasn't, I mean, seriously, if it was a situation where she wasn't, I really think she would have done something to yeah, we'd be in a lot of trouble right now if she wasn't. If she was trying to rely on us in the past to have this go through. I mean, she is, but she's waiting for us, right? It's more of a
Yeah.
waiting game.
And
She's
it and it
yeah,
and if you start on that topic, maybe that'll be a topic we talk about in the future. But I
yeah,
mean, to
I
me,
agree.
God, this is a hard one, but it's like I I always receive her as divinity, and there is nothing that happens on her that she does not have awareness of, and she allows it because ultimately, to me, she loves us, like unconditionally loves us, and has to make some of the choices she makes because she doesn't want to be affected or destroyed to the point where she can't be the support she is for us, right? Because I remember reading this in the channel years ago, and it resonated with me that before Gaia was this planet, she was like what, a goddess, a divine being, and then she became, this planet, and you know, and yes, you can look at destruction, you can look at this, you can look at breakdown of this and all of this, and the thing I'm always reminded of within myself is that I'm hearing this clearly now. Time isn't linear, and they're connecting that to the fact that you know if there's an ending of something, then that means that there's a beginning, because
Hmm.
everything's in circle. It's a cycle, and so I
Absolutely.
I always think about that when I'm seeing the destruction of this, the ending of this. It makes me sad, certainly, but it also, I'm always pointed to the fact that, yeah, I'm hearing within me there really are no endings. It's just a pivoting, it's a shifting of energy, and it's a shifting of how things are set up here compared to the way they were. Um, yeah, I mean, because my first service is to the mother, to the earth, and then I do this from that connection to talk to serve what I can serve, who I can serve. Um, and that's probably not a popular opinion with many people. But I know that my sadness, my frustration, will serve less than my hope, than my love, than my power focused in a place of transformation and change and deliberate action towards a creation of the new and towards supporting um, what what will thrive, what will bring things forward, um, rather than I'm hearing screaming and lamenting about the past and the things that have happened, because that has happened and that's the past, and that feeds nothing. And now is the place where we put our energy into what will serve the highest, what is sustainable. Um, and my thoughts are within myself, without judging others. It doesn't mean that their actions are not needing to be changed. It means that holding another in that place of judgment without allowing them to change their behavior will lock them in that place of judgment for you, for your own reality. Um, you have to open up and allow another to change, to give them room to change. Or when they change, you won't see it because you're locked in a place of judgment. Um, yeah, to me, it's about holding open that space for the change of others. And the greatest example of that to me is the mother, the earth.
Yeah, it's funny. I kept thinking back while you're talking. You mentioned it first about Mother Gaia. She's ascended, but she's been other things before she was a planet. It's possible she started off as a human or a soul like us, and she's ascended past that. Maybe she's
Yeah,
ascending now to become a star, or a constellation, or something like that. And it
yeah.
harkened back. I keep going off topic, but listen, I had a channeling with the Arcturians not too long ago, and they were talking about Mother Gaia. And this is the funniest thing, Carolyn. I was in kind of a trance transcribing it as it was coming through me, and they called her, instead of Mother Gaia, they called her Sister Gadidius, or something like that. And I'm not kidding you. I was in a chat a night
Yeah.
later, overseeing a chat, and somebody in there was called that name, Gadidius. Isn't that weird, Sister Gadidius?
Interesting.
Well, yeah, I thought that was really strange, but yeah, she's already ascended, and I can't help but think. I think I've always missed the boat on thinking that we are, all the destruction we do to Mother Gaia through pollution and things like that, right? That she
Yeah,
can't help it, she's powerless. But no, I think she's all power. She is all power. She
very much.
doesn't. She's, like you said, she's aware of everything that's going on this planet right now.
Yeah,
Every little thing we're thinking, the vibration.
yeah,
If we're
yeah.
getting in tune with things, you can only imagine how in tune with things she is. Every inhabitant
I
that's on
mean,
her body.
I,
Yeah.
I always see her as she exists in many different dimensions. There's the visual dimensions, but there's so many non-visual, you can't see them, but they exist here. They're here, same, and timelines I'm hearing within me as well. I mean, they all exist here. It's not just this one physical reality that we're seeing. So many, I'm even looking at within myself. I see like a Matryoshka doll, which is the doll that stacks in the doll that stacks in the doll that stacks in the doll. Um, yeah. So absolutely, and yeah. To me, I receive her um all levels of her, all expressions of her is unconditional love. And when somebody will say, well, what about this animal attacking this animal? And to me, that's divine flow. That's I'm not agreeing with suffering, but I'm saying that that's part of the divine creation of this reality, honestly.
Mhm.
Um,
It's
for
one thing to say
nature.
it and be full of the feeling like you are. It's one thing to say that because you're understanding it, but it's another thing to have heard it in the past and people did putting it that way, like an adjust. That's just the way it is kind of context without.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, not at all.
God
Yeah,
works
I know
in
what
God
you're saying.
works in yeah, God works in mysterious ways. No, 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 no,
Whatever.
dude. Yeah, the only mystery is why in the hell you close your mind off and not look into what it is or have an open mind to considering how it works and how it goes. That's the only mystery to me. I mean, he don't work in mysterious ways because we're all God. We're all some of the things that humans do on earth mystify me, of course, but I mean that's on another topic. But yeah, that's no mystery. I mean, we're all part of that divine, right? And we're all part of
Right,
that flow. And what you're saying is true. That's just the divine. And come into a peace with that. What you're saying, right? You don't want to
right.
see any suffering, but you understand from a higher level that that's the way creation flows. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying it's easy, but it's
No, it's
yeah,
not.
it, it's the way creation works. And I'm being guided to say, what did you guys just tell me? I shouldn't have written it down. Something about compassion. You know,
Hmm.
the ability to see that flow comes through a compassionate viewing, compassionate heart. You know, to understand that balance, and which is not easy because it means that you can accept the painful and the unbelievable along with the beautiful and the pleasant is what I'm hearing. Um, and that you see them in balance. Um, within reason is what I'm hearing within me now.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and that the change. I was going to say the change is happening, but no, the change is here. It's here now. And now what I'm getting, I'm being pointed really clearly back within. And as we talked about, we connected with compassion, which is a force within me and a force within all souls that are called into service now is what I'm getting. Um, you know, that is the what has shifted. Well, to me, that's the most profound shifting that there is that compassion is becoming one. You know, they're sticking it in commercials now, and the reason why they're doing that is because it is in the pulse, in the consciousness, and for some it's just this word, but it's actually this energy and it's this force that's coming forward and is transforming our world, and it's beautiful because it's not a force of the old, which was not compassion. It was a place of, you know, the bullshit power of that power, which was the small ego will that we talked about earlier. Now it's a place where that beautiful power is now seen as the full power, right? The divine flow.
Hmm.
And compassion is an element with that. And those two are like, they're moving into balance now, or they're part of the focus. And I keep getting within me that I've seen it in ads, I've seen it on bulletin boards, I've seen it in where they have this like compassionate lawyers, compassionate medical,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, 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 yeah. You're right, right, right. Yeah,
And
yeah. Go ahead.
it's neat because it's kind of like it's you could say it's a buzzword, right? And but the beautiful thing is, what am I hearing? I'm hearing that quote about something that you don't believe. Something is not. It's something. It's, you know, like it's you know, berated, or it's this, it's that, until accepted as truth, right? And so it's now at that place where people are like, what is this word? I've heard it before. It's connected to Mother Teresa, and it's connected to blah 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 blah, and they're starting to me, it's starting to filter down is what I'm getting within me. And it's a force of transformation that is starting to permeate through the levels of reality. And it's beautiful because it's profound. It's a profound shift. And when we talk about like this podcast, what has shifted? Well, that's one of those things that's shifting is the significant relevance of compassion. It's
Mm-hmm.
its true purpose, its true resource is what I'm hearing within me. And then we talked about earlier, like power, the true definition of power, its true thing, which we are all, like we're talking about. We're all divine, right? We're all children of God, however you want to say it. That's power. That's real power when that is consciously realized within a person's own reality. And then from that place comes the authenticity because they're giving themselves space and grace is what I'm hearing too, to walk in their truth as much as they're comfortable with every day, little bit, little bit, little bit, and like earlier in the podcast we talked about these little shifts that people are making, these tiny, possible things where they're holding off this assumption, and they're
Mm-hmm.
and they're having this thought where they would normally be automatic, like forgive me to whoever's listening. I think a Pavlov's dog is what I'm hearing. Somebody just goes for it, and they're just like, now they're not doing that. They're pausing. They're allowing the pause, and it may not be happening with everybody, but it's happening with more where they are. It's like I said, beginning of the podcast, they're stepping outside their story, just for a moment, and that's really all that's necessary, because the truth is that's all that exists is that moment. um and it's profound. It's beautiful. All these things are happening very slowly, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we are in 2025, and so it's
But they're happening quick. We're in
definitely
2025. I mean,
time.
it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I think the same thing, right? It's happening like drip, 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 but in the same time, it seems like with every drip, it gets a little bit quicker to the next one. Just a little bit, right? Just so it's noticeable. And
Right.
I'm blowing no Carolyn, I could sit there and dwell on 2025 with you forever because it's true. I feel like, Jesus, we're really, I mean,
Are
this
we
isn't,
really
I
here?
mean,
Yeah.
it seemed like it took forever to get out of the 1980s for me. I thought, man, are we ever going to have the 1980s end? You know what I mean? And finally, thank God it did. But it just seems like now time is moving up quicker. And I understand the theory that as you get older, time goes by quicker, but that's not true either. We're in a time of quickening, but yet things are slowing down in a way because we're living more now moment living. So that's slowing down, but the essence of time is speeding up. Even scientifically, I'd heard that they think that there's about 4 seconds. Some scientists even think up to 4 seconds shaved off a minute. Yes, we're still going through 60 seconds, but it's only taken like 56 seconds to get through it, like what it would have done a couple decades ago, or
Hmm.
whatever. Yes,
Hmm.
so we're going through a speed up, and we're going through kind of a it kind of goes in patches too. We'll go through all this time where time just flies by, and then we'll have a couple days where they just kind of drag and never end. And it seems like when this happens, a lot of people are feeling the same thing at the same time about it, right?
The
It,
Schuman resonance, yeah, when they've
yeah.
talked about it, and I've looked, and they've said that it's like in a, it's what did they say? Oh God, it's in a void. It's in a black space. It's in a place of no time. It's that place
Mm-hmm.
where you're just like, that's what I've connected with for myself. Is it's, oh, that's the Schumann resonance. That's the heartbeat of the mother. And it's at this level, and it's been at this level, and we're like, well, we're significantly affected by it. Um, when we step out of our patterns, is what I'm hearing. Those that are stuck in those patterns, they'll have an awareness of it, but they may not have consciously put reason to it yet, but the whole point is that everybody's reached, and so they're affected by it, but they don't quite know what yet. But to me, that permeation, that trickling down thing I mentioned a minute ago, yeah, that's what's gonna tweak them. They're gonna get it.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, exactly. We and everything goes in, like, it seems like everything goes in cycles with life, right? Maybe you I gotta give a shout out to one of the persons that's an admin for me. Plus, she has her own page called Soul Guidance Free Spirit. Her name is Kirsty Crawford. She's from the UK, and she was talking about how she, and I did a channeling, or not a channeling, I transcribed one for her that she did, but she was talking about how it's a cycle. So when you come in, like, you come into Earth, right? You incarnate here, or whatever, you get here, your
Mhm.
energy spiritual, then physical, and then it kind of goes back in reverse to physical, spiritual energy. I think I'm quoting
Mhm.
her right, if I got that right. But we run in cycles like that, and we have
Mhm.
all these powers that we don't realize yet. Like we have the power to heal. That's been kind of taken away by by controllers or whoever, dark people in the past with an agenda. But we really have. We always
Eluded
hear this.
is what I'm hearing right now. Yeah,
What that?
eluded. It's been sleight of hand is what I'm getting right now.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's still there. I mean, well, obviously it's there, but it's like how it was done. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, I was just making that point. I mean, of course, that's a whole nother topic too. The greed and the power takes over, and that's what that's what drives it, isn't it all? But I think we're kind of walking away from that as far as like I know that our community has for a while is just we don't and especially now after all these shifts, right? We just don't we're really living in it comes down to this, we're really kind of living in a separate world from them, but we're together with them. But we're learning how to be multidimensional though and traverse this by we're still able to cope in that world as much as we have to, and yet when we're not, when we can shut it off and move into a 40 kind of higher 40 kind of a thinking or even a fifth dimensional consciousness, when we're not having to quote unquote play the game. So I think these shifts, a lot of people seem to be, bottom line is they seem to be handling certain things a little bit better, and they may not even realize they are. It could be one of them things where a lot of people don't realize it even until you maybe point it out or they hear something and it resonates with them. I know a lot of we always do that in our community. Well, that resonates with me. Well, what you said resonates with me, but I
Mhm.
find
Mhm.
more of that going on between people. It's like they're the same things. They're living the same kind of thing, and it with just a different circumstances a little bit. The names have changed, but the characters are kind of the same.
Yeah, that's what I was
With
hearing too.
yeah, right, with what we're going through, and really, it seems to be the case, and but yet I always keep that, I maintain that healthy skeptic in me, right, all the time, and but every time I do, then something else happens, and something else happens, and it just, I mean, maybe one day I'll quit denying it to myself that all this shit has really happened to me, and then I have to tell myself too that the crazier thing would be is if it wasn't true. I mean, it's so true and obvious that if it weren't, it'd be even more wild, right? It'd be more wild if it were just a big imagination that we're all going through the same thing, same time. Yeah, that would
Yeah,
be alternative. Try to tell people the alternative would be even wilder.
right.
Yeah, it's so factual, right? And we watch this over time, and has society, I think that we'll look back on it another lifetime when we're ascended in other years that this was a key period though, like
Yeah.
so many times in our history, right? Because we've moved into it's one thing when one religion predicts one thing, but it's another thing when all spiritual communities of all kinds kind of say the same kind of thing about a time there, and it's just some might be a little bit misguided, the end times. Well, end times, it's always they put that up there as a fear story that it's just going to be end times. Well, I mean, but yeah, even if that was the case, humanity doesn't have to go for that shit. Why would we want to end it? We want to make it better. But at end times really means end to a older kind of a way of thinking, right? An older paradigm of just
And it,
doing
and
what
it,
you're supposed
ending,
to do.
and ending is a beginning. You just flip it. That
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that's the way I always see it. Somebody says end times, and I always hear within me that's the beginning. I think I've said it to some people that I feel like they can accept that they can process that, they can understand that.
right.
And yet I'm hearing they're not holding on to that dogma. Um, and yeah, I mean when somebody says it the end times, which I haven't heard that in a while. I mean and I've
Neither.
seen that, I've seen all the prophecies, but it's the reason why we're here, right? It's the reason why we're doing this podcast. I
Hmm.
mean, because we know, you and I, our souls know, those listening, you know, whether they're getting full resonance out of this or just bits and pieces, um, you know, we are talking about these topics that are just right there on the surface, because the times we're in are unprecedented, and the moment that we're in is unprecedented. And you can talk about external events, and give me just a second because I'm getting something on that one. And those are significant because we do physically live in this world and we live in these physical bodies. However, the whole point of it that I receive is to remember. It's not awakening to me, it's reawakening. So we remember that that we are key. You there? That we are.
You faded out. Yeah, there you are. Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I was going to go into spill, but go for it.
The whole point is that we are key creators, co-creators of our own realities, because we were all children of God. We are all divine beings, and that we can and do have deliberate and direct effects on our reality. And now I'm going to give the analogy that my guides have given me to before, and I mentioned this to you before, that I was guided that I need to speak of this, the camera. So my guides have given me this analogy of like a physical camera, like the old-fashioned physical camera. And when you're looking through the camera and you're looking through that lens, what you're looking through is the mind. It's what the mind is looking through. It's what you're focused on. It's that visual, it's that image right in front of you. But in the background, there's the what you're looking at in the background. For a camera, there's this aperture, and it allows in the light to illuminate and to interpret what you're looking at. And what I receive within myself, that's the sacred heart. That's what's always been in the background, always been in the background, illuminating, changing, bringing forward, shifting, pivoting, all of it. And that the sacred mind pivots, or the mind pivots. And that pivot happens when you talk about sacred mind and mind. That's the place where you're in conversation with the heart and you're in the full conversation. That is the sacred mind. Or you're in that isolated flow and then you're just in the mind and you don't necessarily have any conversation with the heart in that place. And when you are in that full conversation with the sacred mind and the sacred heart, that's the point where we are connecting with the compassion. That's the point where you have consciousness, you have awareness, you can make conscious choice before this conversation is engaged. Entertained is what I'm hearing within me as well. And you're in that place where you're seeking definition of your reality only through the mind, only through the thoughts, only through logic. And to me, there isn't any soul on earth that's really locked in that space anymore. I don't feel locked. I feel like they're being shifted, they're being jarred. Their hearts are being pulled forward from a place of I don't like saying it, but I'm hearing they're seeing misery in their world. They're seeing the suffering, and that's compelling them forward. And they're feeling, and that place of feeling is the place where you're pivoting to the heart, and you're beginning to enter into beginning to explore your world through a place of feeling and emotions. And when you're in that place, I'm hearing that's the mirror. Because in the mind, you don't necessarily see yourself at all. The mind can have thoughts that aren't even your thoughts. But when you shift to the heart and you're in that place, you're in a mirror. You're looking at yourself. And that's that place where the unfinished business stares you in the face and it can't be ignored or denied. And to me, that's where all souls is they are in this process of becoming conscious, which is the place of pivoting their focus, whether it's conscious or not, from the mind to the heart into the full conversation. And it's happening. And when you're talking about we're in this time, we're in 2025, this is, yes. So these events, the Schuman Resonance, the solar flares, the presidential stuff, your grandmother just died, your husband just left you, these external events, all of these external events, they're all pushing every soul to choose. And the choice is to remember
their own personal power and their own reality. And to me, there's a point where in the old world, the souls would have been pushed to like the church. Oh, you got to go to the church. You got to go to the church. You got to go, do these things, these external things to go find meaning to these events. Now, more souls they might be going to the church, but they are feeling that there's other ways to access that same connection, and it's beautiful because I'm getting within me, the Instagrams and the Facebooks and all this stuff, and people are
Mm-hmm.
examples of the other ways to access this conversation, the divinity, the going outside, and it's like it's not hidden anymore. I'm hearing it's not hidden knowledge anymore. It's being put in their face. Hey, look, you can find these answers, and they're not just over there in that church, and they're not just stuck in this, and this is what I'm getting, like stuck in this person, this minister, and you got to go talk to this person, or stuck in this person, this doctor. He's the one who's got this information, or she's the one who's got this information. You can go online, you can look, and you can research. Maybe you still need to get professional opinion, whatever, but you have the ability to begin to get that information. And if it's the pivoting into self, into beginning that journey, there's so much available to so many now that it's like, and I'm getting within me. I mean, on Instagram they've got qigong exercises. What? 5 years ago, 10 years ago, people didn't
Yeah.
know what qigong was, right? And
No,
Reiki.
I didn't
I
till about, yeah, it was about then I learned. I didn't know till then.
I
Yeah, I
see
knew Reiki, but
Reiki,
yeah.
right? I see Reiki. I see, like, because I've had to do this myself where I'm listening to a night thing to go to sleep, and they've got so many out there now. It's ASMR, and um they've got ASMR, or they've got
Yeah, I
this,
thought about doing
relaxed
one. Yeah.
music, and
Yeah.
the person's doing Reiki, right? I feel it. I
Mm-hmm.
feel their energy. But to me, the person that doesn't even have awareness, they're jumping on that. They're seeing this person doing this. My feeling within myself that I'm getting is, even if they don't consciously connect with what Reiki is, they might be feeling that energy. There's something about it that's comforting. There's something about it that draws them in. What is it? Is it that person? Is it her hair? Is it
Mm-hmm.
the place she lives? Is it her voice? Is it her, what is it? And it like sparks something within them to be like, whoa, what is it? What is this thing? Reiki, Ray, what is this thing?
Yeah.
Crystals? What, and it's beautiful because it's like, it's not hidden. It's being put out there, constantly put out there. There's no more denying it. And the only way that you can ignore any of this stuff is to, I don't know, go live in a wilderness someplace, in a house, and
In
you
a
know,
hut in Burundi, go to Burundi, Burundi, and get a hut, or
it,
not your Aunt Ola's, but war torn Angola. Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
really, yeah.
it's out there, and I'm getting within me not to say impossible. Yeah, okay, fine. So there could be some that they're, and that's fine. I respect all choice, but it's like, for the majority of people, it's in your face. And the point of myself and others like you is to deliberately, to be the example, to put it in your face constantly. Hey, you have a choice. Hey, you could think differently. Hey, you could make a different choice. Hey, you can allow your heart to lead you into this. Yes, no, that's a lie that you're not supposed to feel this and this. Yes, that's a lie that the feelings can mislead you because they're teaching you. Let them teach you. Let them let you out of your cell, is what I'm hearing within me. And it's like, it's beautiful because it's like coming more and more to people that it's like, no, you can't deny it. It's really here. Is it like I'm getting within me right now? Hey, there's that freaky lady on that podcast, and she's talking about Reiki and blah 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 blah. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, right. Yeah.
you know, and there's that man and his voice, and it's like, I don't necessarily
Mm-hmm.
agree with what they're saying, but hey, that kind of thing makes sense. Wow, maybe I'll go check that out. And even you and I were talking about last night, yesterday, where you live is like more Palladian country, and where I live is more you know, whatever you want to call it. What did you, I don't know what you call it. It's San Antonio, you know, it's suburb of San Antonio, whatever.
I don't think I
But,
want to say over the air.
but that said, there are, I'm getting what they need me to say, there are friendly people, you know, there are people that maybe not be so friendly, but they're friendly people, and they're people that they're,
Mhm.
there's an openness, and there's a willingness in some people.
Mhm.
And I will also say, yeah, because their souls want different. And then the other thing I will offer, because this is what sits in my heart, is that the younger ones, and I'm getting within me, even if they live in dense areas, know, many of them know, they know higher knowledge, they know, and they may not even be able to verbally express it, they just are that, with no apologies, you know.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I agree. I agree with what you're saying. It seems like the people are more receptive to hearing things like that, and there is a lot of alternatives out there now. You're not just compelled to go to a church or go here and they're going to solve all your problems. I think we get into that mode, or we did in the past, where we want just to, to a loved one or something, give them some spiritual guidance. We just want to get it fixed. We just want their problem fixed, so we don't have to really hear about it or deal with it anymore. And so it's a kind of a, oh, they can take care of it. Oh, they'll take care of it all for you. And we do that with, people would do that with hoping the church could fix their issue, or that, all these external things like you're talking about, right? When really it's your heart, it goes through your heart. And that's not to say, because I can hear people in the past going, yeah, but when you think with your heart, you're not using your head, and you make, but no, that's not true. That's not true. What I always tell people is, if you want to do that, why don't you run a thought completely in your heart? Run it up to your head real quick for a check, but then run it back down to your heart for the final decision. Let your brain mull a little bit of it over. It's heart
Yeah.
consciousness, right? It's heart conscious. It's
Yeah.
not it's not like, oh God, I just find me, I'm a pushover. I mean, your heart. It's what is the right thing to do. You know what I mean? And yet you're still using your brain. Your brain. You're using your consciousness and your mind to figure it out. We're not talking about being a pushover and having your energy robbed from you. We're talking about your heart space in general. That means when there's not an issue going on, that means you're coming from your heart. You're approaching subjects from your heart. I'm not talking about giving your heart over to somebody who's got all these problems, right? And that's not what we necessarily mean. We mean just approaching everything with a heart-based feeling. And that doesn't mean being phony and cheeky and, oh, how are you? Oh, Carolyn, you look so lovely today. Oh, Larry, you look so great. Yeah, it's not about that. It's just about a heart feeling of, being grateful to be here, and, realizing that that person you're talking to is a part of you. And, they may have a different opinion on things that maybe you'll hear one thing that you resonate with and move on. I think we're getting more out of we're certainly, it seems to me like we're moving more out of a judgment type of a mentality. Even people that aren't really what we call awakened yet. It just seems, but it's still out there, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it is.
phenomenal.
And it's but yeah, you're right, because I'm flashing within myself, um very judgmental posts I've seen. I, for some reason, I don't know why they're flashing up,
Mhm.
some post I remember seeing back 2015 or something. And I remember her, she was, she was on Facebook, and she had this, I don't know what it was, but it was, she was talking about, self-love, and that it was selfish, and she was explaining why, and she was going into detail, and it was getting a lot of, she was very popular. I don't remember who she was, but I remember listening to it and being like, part of me, I felt like, does she really believe what she's saying? That's what I felt within me. And the other part
Mhm.
of me is the other part of me, really strong within me, was, I think she's trying to mislead people. That's what I felt in my gut. And I was like, wow, because
Mhm.
2015, she had fuel. She she could speak, she could spew that with, and I'm not judging her. She had a purpose for that, right? But she could spew that crap, and people were like, wow, yeah, that makes sense. Wow, yeah, because
Oh
she knew
God, I know. Yeah.
it was old. I'm hearing old technology actually in my head. And
Mhm.
it was a place where, when we were younger, you and I and others, we were taught we were talking bullshit about self-love, that it was selfish and it was honestly a way to disempower us. And
Mm-hmm.
it's beautiful because now I know that it still exists, because there's more than one level of reality is what I'm hearing. But
Yep.
what I feel is that most people, or many, many, many more, really know the truth, or are connecting at some level with the truth
Mm-hmm.
of self-love. And then when we talk about loving another, when you were saying that, the only thing I thought about adding is that loving the other, caring about the other, would and will come from the place of kindness for you first, for the person in the experience first. And that's how you have, and you give yourself, I'm hearing brain width, I don't know why, width, space, to allow that pivot of you in the equation, not just the old mentality of self love, which was all mine and no yours, to the other place, the pivot of that, which would be selfish, which is, they're taking it all for themselves and I'm not getting any. And then the truth is, it's a full conversation, because self love is for you and self love benefits others, because it's the truth. It sounds trite, but it's the truth. You don't know what love is and how to give it to another until you can learn how to give it to yourself. And the first step in that, and the vital step in that, the stone, the stone etched step in that, is what I'm hearing within me, is kindness to yourself, to the choices, to the way you approach it, to the way you see it. Kindness for you. And then when it's kindness for you and that becomes automatic, or almost automatic,
Mm-hmm.
then you pivot to kindness to the other, because a
Yeah,
step
it
that we
helps
might
the
have
game. It
thought
helps. Yeah.
before, the step we might have thought before was a loving step for another. But when you
Mm-hmm.
come back to kindness, you're like, whoa, maybe that isn't kind. I mean, my intent is loving, but maybe I need to back off.
Yep.
Maybe I got to do a little differently, and
Mm-hmm.
it's about, I'm seeing again the layers, the energy moving through the layers, and the the action that makes that happen is the kindness, is the gentleness. Um, yeah, it's a slowing down.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel
yeah,
that. Big, 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 big time. It's funny. It's interesting how you say, on one hand, it used to be that we were always told the cliche, like, "Yeah, how can you love others if you don't love yourself?" But on the other hand, on the same breath, it was like if you were made to feel guilty if oh, you should love yourself. But if you did, or really started to like talk about that, oh no, you're being selfish. you know um people would cling on to something. Like, it's one thing to say something resonates with you. Oh, that resonates with me, really, but I mean, yeah, that makes sense. It's almost like, it's one thing if it really hits you right away and you resonate with it, right? And it's another thing whether you're reading some shit and going, oh, well, that makes sense. It's like there's a different energy between being guided into something out of lovingness and being, fed a line of bullshit, right? And you can feel the energy when people are like, oh, that all makes sense. All makes sense. It's almost like I can see their mind changing. And man, it's got to be something really mind blowing if you're going to let one article change your mind about something completely. And I hear you, and I know, I don't know who that was you're talking about, but she was, that wasn't alone. That was going on a lot, and I'm not one to go down a rabbit hole too much, but I agree with you. I think some of that stuff almost seemed deliberate.
yeah,
I almost got the feeling like
yeah.
you don't hear our cause, our community being talked about too much outside of our community. But I've got to think, Carolyn, not to go down a rabbit hole, but I got to think that I don't, government. We are the government. I don't like to get into that. But other powers, they know who we are now. There's so many millions of us out there. They've got to
Mhm.
know. I'm just waiting for some kind of a hit job, like some news reporter to do a in-depth story on star seeds. And, oh, this is a recovering star seed. I was in that movement once, and it's a big scam, and they get you to do nothing, and it's all about consciousness, but
The
nothing ever changed.
recovery, Darcy.
I'm giving. See, I shouldn't have said that. I'm planting an idea, but I think about that all the time. I could just see the hit job done on it. in past years, maybe not now, but in the past. I'm surprised that it never materialized, but there must be some divine help that does help us a little bit now, because I'm surprised some news reporter didn't take that on and go, oh, look at these star seeds. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. They're in their own bubble. They're in their own world. They're in their own, they talk about consciousness and throw all these keywords around. I can just hear it now. You
Because
know what I mean?
I'm hearing they would, because they'd have to admit this reality.
They would, you know what they would? They'd have to admit it's real. It's like this guy. I heard this guy talking one time on a show, and he was telling that it's actually technically a crime to have interaction with extraterrestrials. And I don't know if he was telling the truth or not, but he made a good point about it. He's like, he kept trying to force the issue with the government because he wanted them to lock him up or try to file charges against him, because they'd have to admit then it's true. If they were going to file charges against him for talking with aliens, right? They'd have to admit they exist.
It's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, the way I always see it is, we are the aliens.
Big time.
That's the
Oh,
way
big time we are. Oh, of course we are. And I mean, yeah, we'd have to admit we exist, but
whatever.
yeah, whatever, exactly, whatever's girl. And yeah, exactly. And so it goes. And so we just keep going down this path and, keep trucking along. And now moment by now moment. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think we've been like over. Do you think do you have anything else you want to touch on? I could talk with, we talk forever, but it's
No, no,
uh,
we covered it backwards and forwards and upside down and through it, and yeah, we're good.
yeah,
We're
we
good.
went 1, 2,
And
3, and 3, 2, 1.
I'm just gonna do my spiel. I think that's
Go.
what it's called, right? The spiel, the whatever it
How
is.
can in the wonderful, wonderful world of social media, how can Carol and Lanier Roberts be found and contacted? Here we go.
Okay. Hi. Okay. So my mission business, because it straddles both realities, is allowing the light, and I am allowing the light on Facebook and on Instagram. Yes. And then my personal page on Facebook is Carolyn Lanier Roberts. I offer soul sessions where I work with the conversation of the heart, and I talk to your higher self, and then I find out what you want, and we work together. I many times I work with what many people would call the Akash. Within me, it's called the Library of the Heart, because my focus is not on who you were in those lifetimes, because to me, those lifetimes actually are right now. It's not past or present, it's parallel. My focus is on your feelings, your emotions, because that is energy that shapes your reality and imprints on you, stamps on you energetically, and is carried forward from one lifetime to the other, affecting your belief systems, your thought patterns. And I can be reached on my Facebook page on Allowing the Light. You can message me here. Am I getting anything else?
Yeah, your YouTube channels. Yeah, your YouTube channels. I
YouTube.
want to make sure you plug
I have a
them. Yeah.
YouTube channel that is Carolyn Lanier Roberts, in parentheses, is Allowing the Light. And then I have an old YouTube channel, which I can't seem to access, but has very good videos on it, which is Allowing the Light. I can be and then I have an Etsy store where I offer my blessing pics, which are my light language infused photography and joy doodles, and as a pure channel of pure intent. Everything I create that comes through me is all for whatever the highest flow of light and information is that can be accessed, depending on the subject that's on the screen or on the page or something, is what I'm hearing. Um, and how that serves that soul. I am grateful for your time and for your attention, and thank you, and blessings, beautiful souls.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'll be real quick too, because Carolyn knows I could go forever and tell you everywhere I could be found. Let me tell you where I can't be found. I can't be found on SoundCloud. I can't be found on LinkedIn. I like both the sites, but there's no need for me to use them right now. Any other social media platform you can think of that's out there, I'm sure I'm on. It's the Larry Locken channel. It's either spaced out or the words all together. The words are all together. Whatever you want to call it, Lemonade, Pinterest, TikTok, Instagram, all of those. Okay, I'm on every single one of them. Yeah, I mentioned Pinterest. So many I can't name. Twitch, Twitter, all of it. Yeah, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of them I forget. Threads and Blue Sky, love them. Okay, so you can find all that out by going to one place. Go on Facebook and find the page Rocken, Larry Locken social media outlet. It's also called the Larry Locken Network because pages can have two names to them. Okay, so but Rocken, Larry Locken social media outlets. Go ahead and hit that like button. I need to revamp it a little, but it's got everything I've been involved in, everything I'm involved in now, and all the groups that the Pleiadians had inspired me to create 11 years ago. Right, they're still out there. I'm not active in a lot of them, although I'm starting to get some interest in them again. A few of them. So I put them out there with the intent of someday somebody might use them. And Carolyn knows I've got all kinds of crazy ones. Texas Pleiadian Rangers. I've got one for every region of the United States. I've got one for Canada.
Preparation.
Australia, Europe, everywhere Europe. I've got the whole globe covered, okay, except for Antarctica and the poles, all right? Wherever you are, there's one for you probably there. And some of them have a few of them, different regions of the planet. So they're there. You just go there and scroll way down, and then you'll eventually find them. But everything that I've ever done is on that page, Rocken Larry Locken social media outlets. And boy, gosh, I'd sure for Chris. I know Christmas is a long time away, but I would sure appreciate about 15 more followers on there so I wouldn't have to obsess about the number 10,000. I can't believe I said that on air because I used to be obsessed with numbers really like years ago, get more people involved, but now not so much. But yeah, when you get, your 9,900 and, 80 some, you're like, oh God, how about 10,000? But anyway, you don't have to do that, but that's where you can find me. Okay, it's got everything I'm involved in there. And so you just go there. And Carolyn, of course, I'm grateful to be able to hold the space with you and, of course, to have you here. It's always a pleasure to have the dialogue with you. And yeah, that's about it. If you want to ask me questions, you can find me on Facebook a lot because I use the other platforms, but Facebook is still the best game in town because it offers everything. You can do still, for what Carolyn and I do, for the most part, it is still it still has everything to offer. But anyway, that's where you can find us. And I don't mind answering questions. If I can't get back to you right away, I will. And the reason I won't right away sometimes is because I've got a million things going on, right? That I'm have my feet in the fire for. That I've done this to myself. So that's what it's about. And yeah, don't feel slighted if I can't get back to you, but I will. And if I honestly, if you're being legit and sincere and need something to help, and I can't do it, I'll find you somebody that can. I promise you, I will make an attempt that will be obvious to you to get you some help with some questions or answers about the spiritual community, whatever you're involved with, extraterrestrial contacts. I'm probably the guy. I hate to brag, but I'm probably the guy to come to if you want to talk about contact with extraterrestrials or one of them. Okay, how it works, right? So, but I can only give it to you from my standpoint of how it's worked for me. But maybe it'll kick off something you'll resonate with. But I have no problem with that. I love talking to people, and that's about it. I'm never short on an opinion, so don't worry. But I'm not going to tell you what you should or shouldn't do about anything. It's just that's it. It'll be maybe I can spawn one word that'll put something together for you, right? And we all link together like that. So I depend on you too. We're all each other's students. We're all each other's teachers. We're all each other's fellow classmates too.
Right.
And with that being said, of course, this has been Rocken Larry Locken, along with my co-host Carolyn Lanier Roberts, and you've been listening to the Conscious Conversations every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific and 11 o'clock Central, where Carolyn lives. And of course, back east it would be noon, and UK 8 o'clock, or UK at 5 o'clock, and so on. In the Scandinavian countries, add another hour depending on where you're at. But either way, it'll still be here on this channel. It'll be on Instagram and TikTok at some point, and most of those other platforms I just mentioned. Okay, so it's out there. And eventually, at some point, real quick, I plan to want to do this today. We're going to have multi-broadcast as far as we're going to have it live on here, and we're also going to have it other places too, going on at the same time, like Twitch and Instagram, and hopefully TikTok and X at some point too. Okay, and Facebook Live, but we'll get there. We're baby steps, right? Baby steps, just like with Ascension. So stay cool, be good, and the phone's ringing, and it's been really wonderful. All right, Carolyn, I love you, sister.
I love you too.
Yeah, namaste, girl.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, hey, by the way, nice job on the mat today. That's great. Okay.